very good evening, friends. This is Dr. Sitesh Roy. I'm an allergist, asthma specialist, and clinical immunologist coming to you with this special on the universe of dads. Wonderful to be amongst you all today and talk to you all this evening on a topic that is so important and critical in today's day and age when the world is facing more than 80 million cases of COVID-19. And there are thousands and thousands and lakhs of people who've lost their lives. In these times, there are three magic words that I would like to say to you. It's not I love you. You've already said that, and you have a wonderful family as a consequence of that. I'm talking about the magic words of mind-body medicine. Mind-body medicine is that which drives every single aspect of who we are, what we do, where we go, how we interact, whether we are successful or not in maintaining good health, good vitality, good cheer in our lives. Because ultimately, though you have heard we are what we eat, and every word of it is true, it's also true that our thoughts create our worlds. And so today when we talk about all the factors that go into keeping us well, keeping us healthy, keeping us vital in these COVID times with lockdowns and unlock 1.0 and 2.0 and 3.0 and 4.0 and 5.0 that we are in right now, there is still an immense stress and pressure that we are under. And what we have to realize is that this stress and pressure not just affects our mind, but it also affects our body. And our gut is where our immune system is based. And in this gut and body is where every secret of what we live, what we experience, what we do, where we are, everything lies. And so when we talk about the mind-body medicine connect, what I would like to share with you is a simple story. A patient who came to me and was very, very worried, very, very stressed, very anxious. This patient was in a state of panic anxiety when I saw them in clinic, and when I sat them down, they were not willing to sit. They wanted to tell me their problem even before sitting down, and I said, kindly sit. And they say that, Dr. Roy, we've been having these episodes of fast heart rate, sweating, churning of the stomach, just a very uncomfortable feeling, sometimes associated with pain in the stomach or chest. And I said, how long has this been going on for? He said, for a month. And I asked him, what have you done about it? He said, I've been to emergency rooms multiple times. I've had ECGs, 2D echoes, I've been referred to cardiologists, I've done everything possible and nobody can find what's wrong with me. They keep giving me medicines, but I don't seem to get better. And someone happened to tell them that maybe it's a food hypersensitivity or a food allergy that's driving all this. So he had this long diary of all the foods that he had been eating and drinking. And there was still something that was amiss, something that was not matching with what he was sharing. And so I asked him that, can you tell me what is different in the past 1 month and what is it that you've been? And so when he thought about it, he said that a month ago I had my wedding anniversary and my wife gifted me an espresso coffee machine, a very fancy one from abroad with some of the best Colombian coffee that she had gotten when she was traveling. And when we got into the details of it, in every single episode where he had got very significantly ill, he had had some very strong coffee after his meal, which is what had made him unwell. And while focusing on the foods and his health, what really was wrong was having this double espresso strong coffee that was really making him unwell. And when we stopped it, he did not require any investigations or anything else in order to get well. And that's the degree of influence that food can have on our body. When we look at the risk factors currently in today's day and age for COVID-19, for example, we realize that with COVID-19, obesity related to food, also related to our mind and our state of our mind and our thoughts and our emotions and our choices of foods. We talk about hypertension, again associated with our mind, the level of stress, the level of anxiety, the level of pressure. We all have families, homes, we have to think of finances. Some of us are having a hard time with work. We thought that work from home was going to be a blessing, but turns out when all the barriers and borders of time and constraints of time that are there when you're going to office for work are now lost and gone, and you realize that really work from home may not be the blessing you're thinking about. So with all those stressors, hypertension again is a mind-body medicine issue. When we talk of diabetes, the other big risk factor, which COVID-19 not just is a risk factor, but it also makes the diabetes go out of control when someone gets COVID-19, even a mild COVID-19 for that matter. And so in that process, again in diabetes, there have been many mind-body connects that have been made right from suppressed emotions, which have been associated with diabetes, suppressed anger, suppressed frustration and anguish. And unfortunately, while the whole world and all the programs out there on the internet tell us be positive, be hopeful, be optimistic, nobody ever teaches us how to do it. We are taught about living a good life, but we really aren't taught how to live a happy life. A happy life doesn't always mean you have everything in your life. And interestingly, me and my team have designed programs called Healthy Living and Happy Living, which I offer to patients. And what we realize is that with happy living, with healthy living, a person can enjoy life regardless of the circumstances of what they are going through. We have all heard that we are what we eat, but also our thoughts, our emotions, which feed our mind, what we see, what is around us, what we intake through our five senses, our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our ears, and our sense of touch. Every single one of these senses are food that feed our body. Now imagine if you are going through a situation where you are emotionally very charged and having to do a lot, and there are deadlines and pressures. Is it only a mental stress that is triggering? No, that stress also gets to your food choices. Because you know what? The word stressed, S-T-R-E-S-S-E-D, when it is spelled backwards, it becomes desserts, D-E-S-S-E-R-T-S. And it's not a joke, because many a time we seek, due to sugar cravings, sweet foods, foods that will comfort and calm our mind because they temporarily give us an insulin spike. And that insulin spike, along with the adrenaline spike that goes with it, gives us a calming sensation. But what comes after it? After it comes the cortisol. And that cortisol, which is the stress hormone, is what eventually makes us feel down. And along with the cortisol come all the other changes in our gut and mind, which make us sleepy or fatigued. And so we go through this up and down cycle of eating comfort foods and then having a high and then having a low and seeking comfort foods again. And this cycle for different people can mean different things. For some people, it might be sweets. For other people, it may be a heavy, rich meal. And whatever it might be the food is, that food ultimately will determine how your mind will function. Will you be fresh, alert, active, emotionally ready to take on life? Or will you be down, depressed, sad, potentially anxious? And you may think that you're having that shot of coffee to stay awake at work because your body and mind won't cooperate with what you're doing and you're really tired. But in doing that, there are other systems in the body that get stressed and get equally pushed to the limit, as I would say. And when that happens, you then end up with consequences in the long run. So really, people ask me that in this COVID-19 situation, are there certain lessons that we have to learn? And I tell them that most certainly the lessons that we have to learn is we have to take care of ourselves when things are good, and then our body and mind will take care of ourselves when things are not good. It is truly something that we have to wake up to. We have to do on a day-to-day basis. Everyone in the last few months has been talking about herd immunity. And it's funny because many people had not heard about immunity prior to this. And everyone took their immune system for granted, which means if you're eating, drinking, and you're happy, your immune system is fine. I wish it was that simple. People come to me and say, Dr. Roy, give us that magic bullet. You're a clinical immunologist. You know the immune system in and out. Give us that magic bullet that will make us immune to COVID. And my answer to them is, if there was such a magic bullet, then COVID would not exist in this world, because everyone would take it and no one would get this infection. An infection which not just gives us asymptomatic infection, but can land people in up to 5% of cases in the ICU and fighting for their lives, and many losing their lives. And I know every single one of you out there knows someone who has lost someone, or may have even lost someone in this whole process. And sometimes it's been young people, because we treat them too. And sometimes it is people you would never expect. We've had teenagers and young adults lose their life in this pandemic. And people still are waiting for herd immunity, which we know is not going to happen anytime soon. It's going to take years to develop herd immunity. People are waiting for a vaccine, and then they again go through the high and low, because today it says we'll have a vaccine in a month. Then someone comes and says everyone may not get a vaccine till 2 years. Then someone comes and says the vaccine is doing great, the trials are fantastic. Then someone comes and says the vaccine has had some side effects and the trials have been stopped. You realize everything that we do is a roller coaster. And that's because we are not centered, we are not grounded, we are not in a space where our mind and our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings are not driven by what is happening outside of us. And so the secret to mind-body medicine is really the mind. And the secret to the mind obviously is the food that you feed your body, because that is the fuel that will drive what happens in your life. And so in these camps that we call happy living and healthy living and relaxed mind, we train people, we guide people, and there are obviously many other such things out there that people can do. But the importance is, just as much as you're thinking of taking your vitamin C and your zinc and your vitamin D and your B complex tablets and maybe your antioxidants, also think of feeding the right things to your mind. Feeding not just the positive and right thoughts, which having a group like this, having a network like this, having a support structure like this is so critical and important, but also about what you do when you wake up first thing in the morning, what you do when you go to bed at night, and every single moment throughout the day. If you realize that be positive is something that happens in those spikes, but be negative or be concerned or be anxious or be frustrated or be feeling that life isn't going the way it should, because so many decisions are beyond our control, so many circumstances are beyond our control. मन की बात हो जाती है और उसके बाद लॉकडाउन हो जाता है. It's that sudden, us to prepare. And that's just the way the life is. Life can throw us curveballs at any moment, at any time. But if we have been feeding the right food to our body and our mind, and if we've been working with the right kind of thoughts in the right way, with a life coach, with someone who can guide us, with someone who can show us the way, with someone who can direct us and tell us where we are in the right direction and where we are not, because sometimes our vision gets clouded because we are in the midst of the storm and we can't see. There may be a very easy way, a very easy path that is there, but we can't see it. And that's where the role, and it's interesting because though our journey begins as physicians, begins as doctors, once we start talking to our patients, hearing their life stories, listening to what they have to say, giving them time, it's very amazing that many of them get connected to us as life coaches or connected to us as guides, because through that we are able to see their life in a neutral way. Because being able to see someone's life neutrally is not an easy process, because we get emotionally attached. And there's nothing wrong with being emotionally attached, but you also have to at times get detached, because when you're outside the storm, or when your mind can extract you outside the storm, is when you can see the way out of the storm. And being able to do that requires training. It's not something that happens in one day. To train your mind to think in a certain way, to behave in a certain way, to respond, not react in a certain way, requires that kind of training. And the same way is true when I talk about the foods we eat. Unless we experiment with which food makes us behave in a certain way, think in a certain way, feel in a certain way, and have guidance and direction, we would never be able to truly and genuinely be able to take the right choices with regards to the foods, because always our food choices are driven by the taste factor that we have, with how it feels, with how we experience it on a very sensory level. And we don't realize that there is an entire community of bacteria, fungi, and other what we call microbes that live in our gut, which also are going to eat that food, and the way they respond and the type of chemicals that they release. And those chemicals through the gut-brain axis send signals to our brain. Besides the gut-brain axis and the nerve signals that our gut will send, will all determine how we are living our life. Are we living the highest, most energetic, the most productive, the most creative life? Or are we just going through life, experiencing it as a stress, as a tension, as a worry, as an uncertainty that these times bring? And so, while it's easy for me to say that, take your vitamins, do exercise, sleep well at night, get fresh air, get sunlight, I know that that is not something that comes easily. I've had patients who have come to me in this pandemic and have literally cried, because they say they just can't get themselves to go out of their house. And if they don't go out of their house, they won't be able to take a walk or get fresh air or get sunlight. And that is so critical for their health, for their immunity, for their vitality, for keeping even their weight or their diabetes under control. The exercise is so important. But that fear is so overwhelming, because they have seen all these things in media about COVID-19 being everywhere, being spread through air, through aerosols. And we really have to sit and counsel them that happens in indoor situations. Outdoor open air transmissions of COVID-19 are extremely rare, because the virus really requires a certain amount of concentration, what we call the viral inoculum. The dose of virus that enters a person's body determines whether they'll have an asymptomatic infection, a mild infection, a moderate infection, a severe infection. It will also determine the type of symptom, besides obviously what's going on in their body. That is a very critical part. So besides very, very regularly wearing the mask, keeping your social distance, hand washing, hand sanitizing, all the things that it also becomes very important to get fresh air, sunlight, and exercise. So we encourage people to go out and do that. And what happens when you exercise? When you exercise, you again release endorphins. You're working on your mind. You're working on getting your mind to think in a positive way. You get hope, you get optimism. You get a realization that there is a way out of all this. You don't have to be cooped up and enclosed and isolated in your home. And when you realize that you can do that, and when you can go out, you just have to wear your mask and take the right precautions, keep the distancing. And when you do that and you start making the change, your body starts responding. Then regardless of whether you're taking your vitamins and your other substances, you will start recovering and healing. And that's what really is the true way of the mind-body-food connect. When we eat the right foods, we feed the right substances to our brain. Our brain controls our thoughts. Our mind controls our thoughts. When these thoughts are aligned through the right kind of meditation, through the right kind of prayer, through the right kind of healing, and when we get to that stage and we are in the right frame of mind, then we attract more and more of the right things into our life. And in order to do that, it's not always easy to do it on your own. You definitely need guidance, you need support, you need help, you need networks like the universe of dads, the universe of moms. And through these networks and through the right kind of people, you can achieve that kind of mind body balance. Now, following social media, you would have seen that along with the pandemic, there's been something called an infodemic. Now, I do interviews on television, on digital media, I do televisions, and I do video recordings on my own YouTube channel, Dr. Roy Health. And through these, I really create awareness amongst people about what is real, what is not real. This whole thing about the COVID can enter your home through anything you get from outside. We have come to realize that for COVID to be transmitted, for example, through footwear, it would take a very, very bad luck. It would be like lightning hitting you, but that still is a good habit to keep your footwear outside your home and get into your house, change your clothes, take a shower. But when we become paranoid and every few hours we are cleaning all the surfaces in our house and we are paranoid about whom we meet and who comes to our door, that becomes excess. And that stress, as I said, stressed spelled backwards becomes deserts. Deserts is not just sweet food, it is comfort food. And we then start into a vicious cycle, a spiral that gets us down. And that spiral truly affects first our body, then our mind, and ultimately what it does to our mind again affects our body. So being knowledgeable, okay, knowing that if you read the right information, if you screen the right information, if you make sure that you're not forwarding some information just because it seems so good to be true, but you look at its veracity, its truthfulness, its reason, its purpose, and then share it, you can then spread good cheer, positivity, hope, realistic expectations, goals. And through that, you can really make a difference first in your life. And then because you're bringing it to others, you're doing it for many, many other people. And truly, since I started recording these videos on YouTube on my channel called Dr. Roy Health, I have had so much feedback from so many people, patients, friends, family, relatives, people from across the globe who say that just having the right information gave them peace, gave them confidence, gave them hope. Because wrong information, as I said, the infodemic that is going on can really drive people crazy. One day you're told the vaccine is great, next day you're told the trial has been stopped, the third day you're told vaccines are around the corner, the fourth day you're told it will take 2 years before people will get vaccines because there won't be enough. Through this roller coaster, through this not knowing what is happening to us, where it's happening, we get so focused into the outside world, we forget to bring our consciousness, our energy inside. And being able to bring our consciousness and energy inside in a focused way, in a way in which we can then make the right choices, make the right decisions, make the right connections, do the right steps that we need to take to make our finances stable, to make our work stable, to make our health stable, to make our food stable. Everything begins with getting the right guidance and direction. And it's so important to have the right life coach or the right guide or the right person. And it may be anyone in your life. It doesn't have to be me or the people I work with. It can be anyone that you can trust and someone who is, as I would say, level-headed and someone who can really be there for you when you need them. Because the most difficult part today is to find someone who's there for you when you need them the most. The next important step is to open up to them because we feel so insecure in our own minds. And if we don't have self-love and if we don't have self-confidence, we can often not express ourselves clearly. And when we can't express ourselves clearly, we can often not get the right answers. But if you have someone who can actually perceptively know where you are, someone who can read your mind. So it's one thing to have mind-body medicine and it's another thing to read a person's mind. Many a times patients come to my clinic and they're sharing their story and their problems and their issues, and I will suddenly change the topic and go to their family life or go to their relationship with their spouse or the relationship with their children. And suddenly what do I know? The next thing I know, they are crying tears and tears and releasing their emotions, and before they leave, even before I have prescribed one drug to them, one medication to them, they're already feeling better. And that to me is the true connect of mind-body medicine, because we as doctors are taught everything we need to know about the drugs, the side effects of the drugs, the interactions of the drugs, when to use which drug, but we are often not given the flexibility, the freedom, the time to spend with human beings who all they are looking for is for being heard, for their story to be listened to, for their feelings and emotions to be expressed. And when we are able to do that, that's where mind-body medicine truly connects and begins. We have a lot of positive videos, a lot of positive news that we can focus on, but we often focus on the dramatic. We often focus on the exciting. We often focus on something that might in some ways even be anxiety provoking consciously. Okay, there have been so many people who have told me that we are watching these web series and it is so exciting, and we are up till 3 a.m. at night watching it because we don't have to go to work tomorrow. We can work from home. We are saving so many hours. And guess what? In that whole process, you're not just feeding your mind everything that's going in and what you're seeing and hearing, but also you're disrupting your day-night sleep-wake cycle, which nature has so carefully guided and directed you. And how do you get out of that? Often the pull and the attraction of what you want to see and the ability to control your mind so that you don't do it. It's almost like an addiction, right? Some people are addicted to drugs or alcohol, and others are addicted to their screen. Others are addicted to other things in life. But ultimately, addiction is a weakness of the mind, and any weakness of the mind is going to lead to weakness of the body, and that weakness of the body is going to convert into disease, whether it is a simple thing as a common cold, headaches, all the way to cancer and everything in between. And so the messages have to be heard carefully. Is take care of your mind, body, take care of your diet, take care of your lifestyle, exercise, interact with people, talk to people, share your feelings and emotions in the right way. Be there for people and be with people who are there for you. Both are extremely important. And when there is a health issue, do get the timely medical care, because the timely medical care is ultimately what you need at that time to come out of the acute situation. And once you're out of the acute situation, find and seek someone who can give you the right guidance, the right direction, the right kind of counseling, the right healthcare guidance, and eventually the right kind of meditation, breathing, healing that you need to recover and lead a healthy, positive, energized, successful life. So friends, I hope that in the last half an hour that we have been speaking, the interaction between how your energies, your emotions and your feelings in your mind drive your food choices, then your food choices drive what goes on in your mind, and then the entire cycle continues in this way. And also what you see, what you hear, what you eat, what you smell, what you feel through all the senses also influence your mind and determine where your energies and your health and your body will go. And through that, when we make the right choices, when we make the right decisions, when we seek the right help, when we take the help of Mother Nature, which has already given us fresh air, sunlight, fresh water, ability to exercise when possible, and all the other factors through food and diet that can keep us healthy, we realize that health and our immunity is truly in our hands. Because once we take care of our health and immunity, it means we're taking care of our gut and our immune system, and that's where your entire strength and progress lies. So with that, I wish you all the very best in life, the very best in health, the very best in vitality, energy, productivity, creativity. If any of you all wish to connect with me or with my team, feel free. We will put the details on the Facebook page. Certainly, it can make a huge difference to who we are, what we do, and what we achieve in life, the purpose that we achieve in our life, the goals that we achieve in our life, and the difference that we make to then to our society, then to our city, state, country, and this world, and ultimately to the universe in general. Because that's what we are here for, is to give back, not just take things, which is what we usually do. We just keep using resources. We also have to give back that energy in a positive, creative way back to society. So thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you all. Everyone have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. Feel the love, take good care of yourself, stay blessed, stay hopeful. Life is still beautiful, life is still wonderful. And remember, happy living is the secret. It's not about having everything, but it's about being happy with what we have, and from there we create everything else that we want. Take care, God bless, stay safe.